If you're going to do e-commerce, how can you be a successful trader? Because people do it, and it does work for people. One thing to remember is marketplaces are just like a franchise. Yeah? There's huge support available. Those tools are in place. There'll be loads of training that goes around them. I've not looked myself, I've never done it, but I'll bet you there's all kinds of YouTube videos, guides, books that you can buy. You've got the merchant community. There'll be a ton of stuff that's helping you get on there. Because boy, they want you on there. But like a franchise, the franchisor sets the rules. Yeah? I used to run a franchise, that was my business. It was a franchised business. I was a franchisee. Yeah? Marvellous, you buy into a business system. But you have to use that business system. There is no latitude to go around it. No latitude to go around it. And that can be a good thing, but you can feel like it's a bad thing as well. And there are costs and taxes, which I've mentioned some of those before. You will always be charged a listing fee for just the pleasure of putting something up. And then if you do well out of it, oh, well, that's some of that as well, thank you very much. And the better you do, the more we'll take. One of the really, really important things to do is to know your competitors. It matters hugely for obvious reasons. Yeah? And the good thing is about being online, you can literally find out who they are. Huge competition exists, and as I said before, these guys and girls out there are shrewd operators. So look and learn. If you're going to do it, look and learn. How do they present themselves? How do they make themselves attractive? How do they make themselves look convincing? How do they make themselves look like businesses that customers would want to trade with? Yeah? Make yourself look like that. Become one too. And is there anything about the way they go about setting up any of the listings that they put up? Any ways in which they present their products? Is there anything that you can learn from that? Don't try and do this game in isolation. Learn from everyone around you. It's all there. Review category listings and try and avoid the crowds. Yeah? Don't try and enter a market where there's lots of other people selling, because it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. By definition, it's got to be. Do your research. Don't commit to doing this until you are sure that you know what category you'll go into, what goods you can sell, what kinds of margins you think you can make, and generally whether you feel that there is a business in this or not for you. Select your products. There are some categories that are already extremely well covered, and there is no point in even bothering going into them. And one of those is very close and dear to yourselves, and it's called computers. Now, there is no point in trying to go online and sell new laptops. System builds may be different. Bespoke may be different. But your bog standard stuff, forget it. Digital cameras, iPods and plasma TVs. Remember what I said about what the internet was good at this morning? Price comparison, branded electricals. That's what that stuff is. Bigger ticket items. Yeah, I'm going to buy a digital camera price comparison. Boom. I've got all the information I need, because let's face it, a Nikon is a Nikon is a Nikon. Yeah, I know the brand, I trust the brand, who's selling it at the best price. Selling on new hinges on making enough margin. I'm going to talk about this some more in a moment. It's about understanding what is the nature of margin when trading online, because it's not the same as what you might be used to if you're a normal retail store. Reuse items can often be a really, really good source of trade. So things like liquidation or overstocked sales, return seasonal items. There's an implication in there about what it takes to be successful when using these marketplaces, and that's about being more opportunistic in what you decide to do, rather than necessarily sticking solidly to IT. You might need to think about IT and some other things. Yeah, and sometimes not be doing IT and then come back into the market later. Consumables do offer the potential for repeat purchase, but commodity consumables are by definition going to be massively price competitive. Yeah, I go online to eBay, I want Epson ink, price comparison, all over again. But if there was some kind of specialist ink or unusual ink, that's a different matter. So trade wisely. Never stop pursuing better costs. Never stop pursuing better costs. Always be looking for better sources of supply. And this is one of the implications of one of these businesses. Yeah? You can never trust your suppliers. There's always going to be someone else trading, probably at a better price. And since every point matters in this game, you're going to need to be looking at that. That's immediately a demand on your time. Immediately a demand on your time. An activity that you've probably never done before. Watch for changes in demand or new entrants. Yeah? I used to sell, there was nobody selling these boards, this particular type of board. Suddenly someone turns up and is. Suddenly someone else turns up and is. Maybe it's time to start selling something else. So be opportunistic and think about spreading your risk, selling across a number of different categories, like I've said before. We've already covered this point. Commodity consumers are exceptionally price driven. The only advantage you might get is on availability. Now you've got something that a lot of traders haven't, which will be deeper. You've got deep expertise in a particularly technical area. So use that. Think about what your niche could be. Many of you are doing repairs. We've already mentioned it about selling old spare parts. Yeah, for particular models even. Concentrating on old IBMs or old HPs or whatever it is. And positioning yourself as this expert supplier. For a start, if you become niche, you've got less competition. If you've got less competition, price pressure is going to be somewhat lighter. But the more knowledge you've got about the products that you're selling, the better able you're going to be to find and negotiate pricing. And yes, if you present yourself as an expert supplier, well, me as someone who's buying from you, they know what they're talking about. When they describe that board, there was a whole load of information on there that makes me think this is a really good place to buy it from. Expertise can inspire trust. Remember, that's one of the biggest things. All I'm looking at is a screen. And I'm deciding to spend my hard-earned cash with that screen. I don't know who you are. I don't know how trustworthy you are. Everything that makes me want to trust you is all embodied in that website. You need to master, if you're going to use eBay, you need to get hold of eBay auctions, and there are plenty of books on this topic. And there's also a lot of mistakes that can be made. Be careful about loss leaders. The amount of businesses I go and talk to, oh well, yeah, we sold that cheap because it's a loss leader. Do you really? The issue is when you combine loss leaders with the fact that there's not a lot in the way of loyalty trading online, you're not building up loyalty, which is what a loss leader is typically for. It brings, in a supermarket sense, it brings trade in to experience the whole offer. Yeah? And once the whole offer is experienced, I buy into it or I decide not to. You're buying that. With a marketplace, you can't buy that. So loss leaders can quickly become loss makers. Auctions can also be very fickle. It can be very, very difficult, excuse me, to make money off the back of them. Pardon me. So again, you have to think about your pricing from the point of view of, in the long run, or the longer run, I might lose some, and I might gain from some, but overall, what is an acceptable margin for me to make? Research, research, research. Again, the wonderful thing about the internet is the information's there. It's all been codified. Completed listings. You can go on and look at auctions for the same products, unless you're absolutely unique. You can go on and look at auctions for exactly the same products. What did they sell at? What price did it start at? That helps you pitch the same. That was a successful auction. It doesn't guarantee yours will be, but it gives you a good point to start with. Read up on pricing strategies. There are all kinds of ways to go about this. I do not profess to be an expert. I've never traded on eBay. I've never bought a thing on eBay, to be honest. But for example, a low starting price on an auction for something popular is more likely to be successful than a high. Why? Because it's popular. There'll be lots of searches going on, and a low starting price is going to start attracting bids. But there will be lots of other ways of going about this. And as I say, there will be plenty Given the amount of people that are shopping on eBay, the amount of traders that there are on eBay, there'll be plenty out there on the web, in books, all over the place about how to do this. Can't stress that pricing is critical. We meet so many people who sort of look at things and think, what would I charge for that? Yeah? They don't look at what the market will bear. They look at what they think is reasonable, and quite often it's, the two are quite different, and often their estimate is usually too low. But on the internet you can't do that, because information is freely available. You don't have the luxury of somebody walking into your shop, having never seen that in anywhere else, and not knowing what it might cost, seeing that they think it looks reasonable. They can't Google whatever the make is, presentation clicker, and see that you're actually expensive. They can only make their decision there and then. Of course, online, comparison, away you go. So you can't operate like that. Sales are largely transactional. Covered that point really. Now, here we go. Know you know your costs. Don't think you know your costs. Know you know them, that you've really gone through them and worked them out for what they all are and how they contribute. Right. One of the most influential factors that will affect people's perception of you as a quality supplier is how well the goods turned up. Were they broken or were they pristine? So, one of the costs, it's not just about an envelope, it's about good packaging. And it's also, we'll come on to it, it's also about spending the time to pack things well. But it is one of the most critical things around perceived service. Because what else have I got? Oh, it comes in the post, here it is. It's a bit tatty. Uh-oh, it's in a flimsy envelope. Don't like the feel of that. The cost of time. People often say to me, well, repairs, this is an aside, repairs, it's all profit. No, it isn't, because you should be paying yourself a wage. Yeah, that is part of the overall cost. The profit is what's left at the end of it. Yeah? You have to account for time. So yeah, picking and packing can take significant time, especially if it's successful. And what about carting it all down to the post office or the courier? Yeah? That's not a 5-minute job. It's going to wipe out an hour or two every day. You're starting to get some decent trade. Well, what's going to pay for that? So it's an element of margin that you need to start thinking about that you would never have thought about before. Export, if you're going to get into it, has hidden costs, additional packaging requirements, notifications, documentation on envelopes. Customs, yeah, to deal with customs, what's in the envelope, filling out the relevant forms, sticking them on the back. So that's my phone. So that takes time and effort. That's another cost to add in. And then you've got all this other stuff that'll be going on in the background. Non-payers. Yeah, they put through a faulty credit card number. Fraud. Yeah? People who buy lots and lots of stuff off you and then don't pay. Returns. Because you have this thing. It used to be called the Distance Selling Act. As of this year, June of this year, it's now become what's called the Consumer Contracts Regulations, which is just what was the old distance selling regulations plus the doorstep selling regulations, which I'll talk about now. Yeah. It implements EU consumer rights in the UK. It applies to items bought online. It replaces those, and it also obliges you to give certain information, which doesn't really matter. The thing is, when somebody buys something, is everyone familiar with distance selling? No? Right. Consumer rights under distance selling. Doesn't matter what it is, what condition it's in. If I don't want it, I'm entitled to a refund. Yeah? I have to get it back to you in good condition, yes. But I'm entitled to a refund. Totally different situation. It excludes items where there might be a seal that might be broken. Yeah? It excludes obviously things like food and perishable items. And it excludes, interestingly, tailor-made or personalised items. What might you do that falls into that category?
Custom systems.
Systems, yeah. Custom systems. Custom systems. So, swings and roundabouts to be aware of. But consumers are entirely within their right to just go receive the goods and say no thank you. So, price intelligently. Know you know how your auctions are going to work. Know you know what the competition's up to and doing. Know what sustainable profit margin you want to make. These are all new activities that you might not have done before. And know that you know your price is right. Don't guess it, know it. Online reputation is everything. I can't see you. I've just got that screen. That's all I know about you. So do things like, nobody can know you, so you have to compensate by painting this virtual picture. Complete the seller page as well as you possibly can, as completely as you possibly can, authentically as you possibly can. It's just a simple advice that you can find on the web, but a decent picture of you, not a mugshot. Make yourself look like a happy, person that it'd be good to do business with, not somebody who's been caught in the headlights. Never exaggerate or misrepresent, because that will find its way through into customer reviews, because your product won't match what you said about them, and that will come and find you. Remember, these sites are set up to get and capture reviews, so they will find you. And warranty, absolutely everything. No quibble, money back guarantee. You have to, really, under the distance selling regulations, to be honest. The consumer credit, not consumer credit, I can't remember it. But if you are seen to offer it, people will go into the arrangement with more confidence. Well, I know that if it's not right, I can get my money back. And quite honestly, all the evidence actually suggests the amount of times that will happen. If you've priced your margin correctly, your cost will be more than offset by sales. And yes, if you've got you need to have a returns policy. Display it prominently everywhere. In other words, you're almost fishing for returns. That's the kind of angle to go at. It's not that you're going to get them, but if you're seen to be asking for them, doesn't that kind of mean that, well, you wouldn't ask for a return? You wouldn't make it so obvious we wanted me to send my stuff back if you weren't confident what you were sending me was right in the first place. Never stop building your credibility. You have to absolutely treasure this online reputation. Absolutely treasure it. It's not like you as a person. All it is this stuff that's been stored on a system. All the comments, the way in which you respond to them, it all starts to form evidence and a picture about what you are like. Continuously look to improve your listings. Things like power words. Go back, as I said before, look at how the seasoned big operators are working, how they word their listings, and think very strongly about things like keywords, brand names, model numbers. Anything you can do to pick out your product will help get more eyeballs and help you sell more. Interact and comment often. This is just like when we were talking about websites. If you get comments about your service on Google, for example, thank you very much. Like the feedback. It was great to see you. Show that you're alive. Show that you care. Because otherwise, how do I know? How do I know? And we've covered this slightly before, but what the marketplace says goes. They have got a huge reputation at stake when you think about it. It's their own business, and their own business is the reputation of all their traders. One bad trader, no thank you. We will not tolerate it. And that is really the stance that they take. Comments and feedbacks abound on the web. It's reasonable that they preserve it's their business, isn't it? It's reasonable that they look at their reputation. What they say goes. They will usually side on the side of the customer regardless. The culture on the web is the customer genuinely is always right. It's probably the best way to think about it. Don't even go along the lines of, well, they're wrong, but I'm right, and it doesn't really matter. No, their customer is right. And rule breaking for poor service will not be tolerated. But as I said before, despite this, and I think because they operate such a forceful and project such a forceful stance, it never really happens. People fall in line and abide by the rules. Is it fair? They're out to maximise their profits. They're in business. You're in business. The marketplace, the way marketplaces work, it's fiercely price competitive. The dynamics are always on you. It's pushing prices down all the time. Your margins will be thin. Everything is all about your cost. That's why I made that point earlier. Your business is now about finding better search costs, better purchase prices, costs to you. You will be squeezed in every direction, but you get 16 million visitors a month in the UK. But you get a complete trading platform with all of the built-in bells and whistles. Yeah? But you get a website that looks good, that's designed professionally to a high standard. Quid pro quo. And this whole business about good but great service is utterly critical. These are just some statements. You know, if you think about it, you've got to be looking at it from the customer's perspective all the time. What do you want them to say about you as a result of using you? Yeah? Well, the seller was available. I had a query, I rang them up, they were there, I emailed them, they answered me really, really quickly. They were helpful and courteous. Because you want people to say that about you. My stuff was dispatched immediately. Yeah, I placed the order, boy, it was on its way to be fantastic. I can't wait to receive it. The parcel was delivered to me undamaged. It was pristine. It's unusual, most parcels I get are all bumped and scraped. The courier was presentable and courteous. I opened the parcel and my stuff was pristine. The seller contacted me just after I received my goods, be that email or telephone. The seller was interested in my feedback. Yeah? Remember, you are working virtually, so you have to go out of your way to form an impression. But these are the kinds of things that you're going to want people to say. These are the kinds of things that give you any chance of repeat purchase. The issue is making all of that happen has some big implications for how you work. Because if you think about it, this becomes your job. Buying good packaging, spending time packing stuff really well. Yeah? Not fixing laptops. Or getting in the way of fixing laptops. Yeah? Being readily available and responsive to inquiries. Well, I sent my email into you at 9 o'clock this morning. You didn't answer until 8 o'clock that night. It's a bit of shit. It's a bit crap. I don't like that. You know? You should be looking after me. Because it's all online. Everyone answers their email straight away, don't they? You're going to need to stay ahead of orders, minimise any backlog. That's to do with dispatching stuff immediately. Yeah? If you work all day long doing your repairs and you suddenly tend to your online business at 8 o'clock at night, well, you can't send the stuff till the next morning anyway. Yeah? And you'll be working, if you've got a decent business, you'll be working till midnight, sticking it all into jiffy bags and all the rest of it. Ensure everything on sale is in stock, because if it isn't, you're gone. I'm on to the next seller. Use email and the telephone to serve. Yeah, we're all used to serving people directly. Yeah, you now got to do it remotely because that's the nature of the medium. So it means a lot of this and possibly even some of that, over and above what you're already doing. Keep on top of reviews. When somebody places a review, you be on top of it. Yeah, the moment it comes in, you need to know about it. Thank the person for a good review. A troublesome review like we spoke about this morning, you need to address it. That doesn't usually happen. I'll look into that. Really sorry, is there anything we can do? Yeah? Be seen to be responsive and post the response, the changes that you make as a result or the resolution of that review online. Patrol pricing and listing positions. It really does matter what your competitors are charging. Yeah? It's not, well, I think my prices are okay, or, well, I know my price is roughly what he charges over in wherever it is. Your consumer, your customer, has got it all presented to them. They know, so you have to know. You have to be doing the same kind of research that they are, and you have to be responding. Again, that's a level of price knowledge that you're probably not used to. Manage couriers and delivery performance. This is an interesting one. This is getting an intermediary, yeah, looking after an intermediary. But they represent you. Some crappy courier turns up that's nasty, rude, smelly, you know, a bashed up van. Oh, right, maybe I've got a long way to go. And then some bashed up van that doesn't really say much about you. Yeah? It says you didn't spend much on the courier of your goods to me, which says you don't think much about me as a customer. I won't be buying from you again. All goes back to that whole thing. Crikey, look at that beautiful parcel. So, can you afford to dabble? Can you afford to dabble? Maybe you can. I don't know. But you really have to get your arms around this stuff. You know, an urgent email in the middle of a laptop repair. It's not arrived, which is the second point. Yeah, a missed delivery whilst you're trying to finish a difficult system build. Conflicts. The internet is impatient. The internet is very impatient. Irate phone calls for whatever reason. It arrived and it was bent and broken. You might have spent all the money on packaging. Yeah, you might have packaged things really well, but sometimes stuff goes wrong. Genuinely wrong for good, well, not good reasons, but you understand what I mean, for justifiable reasons. Yeah? And yet, you've ended up with this problem. You've got a shop full of people that you're trying to serve at the same time. And I matter, because I'm the customer on the phone. Orders, inquiries and phone calls after 6 PM when most trade goes on. So suddenly your working day, whenever it was you did start, 9, 8, 10, whatever, perhaps you used to finish at 5 or 6, forget that, yeah? Because people will be expecting responses more or less in real time.